Chapter 91. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone was hyped, the woman in red waved her hand, and boom, Kamigawa materialized again. The students closed their eyes, ready to soak it all in. Wu Qi shut his eyes too, picturing that goddess stepping on the sacred river scene. A moment later, Kamigawa observation method, maxed out. Can't level up due to current restrictions. Too quick, wasted. Frustrated, Wu Qi snapped out of it and glanced around. The other students were still deep in concentration, and the woman in red, she was just standing there, cool as a cucumber, a sparkle in her eyes, staring right at him. Chapter 16, Fairy Yunmeng. Let's talk about switching classes. 3/5. Wu Qi. Crap, busted. Now what? Need help, ASAP. Guilt washed over him as he braced for a lecture from the stunning teacher, but, the woman in red just gave him a look and said nothing, seemed like she didn't even care. Phew, thought I was toast. Wu Qi let out a breath. With hero power active, he was basically a mini Superman, could swat a tank like a fly, leap across a football field in a single bound. But compared to Fairy Yunmeng, his skills were just a joke. The most beautiful woman in Silver Moon City, the most powerful person in Silver Moon City, and the current principal of Kamigawa High. Fairy Yunmeng was a legend. She'd arrived in Silver Moon City last year. Her grandfather, the old principal, supposedly retired and handed the job to her. She shook things up the second she arrived, fired a dean and a bunch of teachers. Before she came, Kamigawa High, like other schools, had been taking money from big corporations, powerful families, even religious groups. The usual hidden rules of high school: spot a promising student, grease the wheels, get them interested in joining a certain group, no direct pressure, of course, totally legal. They saw it as a win-win-win. The big shots got fresh talent, the school got paid, and the students got a leg up. But they also got arrogant and pushy. Fairy Yunmeng shut that down. One by one, rumor had it, those first few days, Silver Moon City saw blood, a terrifying figure fell, and the very world mourned. After that, nobody messed with her. The only time Fairy Yunmeng ever backed down wasn't for a powerful person or group, but for the students and their parents. That whole investment contract thing, she was a complex figure. Could rain down hellfire, but also humble herself for her students. A lot of people didn't get it. Why pick fights with the big guys for a bunch of students who'd sell out anyway? Didn't make sense, but honestly, Wu Qi admired her. It wasn't just her looks. Her personality was like a diamond in the rough, a light in the dark. 16 years in this world, Wu Qi had met all kinds of people. In an era where immortals were everywhere, you could bump into the real deal any day. But Fairy Yunmeng was the first person he truly respected. She lived up to the fairy title. And she's gorgeous, with feet that could drive a man wild. Wu Qi thought, his eyes warming slightly. The woman in red seemed to sense something, her brow furrowing. She'd been watching Wu Qi since he walked in. Who was this guy with the nerve to send her an invitation? But she noticed something strange. When he focused, his mind was sharp, almost perfect. He'd clearly mastered the Kamigawa viewing method. She remembered that Wu Qi was a level 10 lord, broke the territory limit yesterday, so he should be over 11 now, right? He probably can't level up anymore. Did he use a void source stone to ascend directly? A thought struck her. There was a flicker in her eyes. Soon, the students came to, happy with what they'd learned. The woman in red highlighted some key points about visualizing the divine river, then dismissed everyone. Wu Qi hesitated, then hurried over as the woman in red turned to leave. She seemed to sense him coming, turning with a cool gaze. Teacher. Wu Qi said calmly, I have a question. Oh. The beautiful woman tilted her head slightly, her eyes calm. Let's hear it. The words faded, and a cloud of mist swirled around Wu Qi. The next second, the mist cleared. Wu Qi looked around and realized he was in the Academic Affairs Building's office. The woman in red was already sitting in a large chair, legs crossed, arms resting on the armrests, head tilted, studying him. Wu Qi's heart pounded. He took a deep breath and asked about switching classes. Switching classes, the woman in red nodded. How many of your heroes are looking to switch? 3, Wu Qi replied, then continued, the books don't say much about it, just that the quality of the certificate isn't that important. Why? It's not that it's unimportant, it's that it's replaceable. The woman in red explained, a job transfer certificate is essentially a professional inheritance. It lets you trade up. For example, if you use a regular mage certificate to become a mage, and later you get a better, green, mage certificate, you can just use that, overriding the previous one. So, don't worry too much about the quality. Use what you got. Wu Qi understood, got it. But. The woman in red continued, it has to be within the same system. A high-quality mage certificate can override a low-quality one, but a high-quality warrior certificate can't override a low-quality mage certificate. Got it, Wu Qi nodded, the woman in red added, worlds are different. Across the endless void, power systems vary completely. Every world has different rules and limitations, meaning their power systems have different caps. They might both be mages, but one mage's power comes from a low magic world and can only destroy a mountain, while another's comes from a high magic universe and can rewrite the rules and create stars. Huge difference. So, even with the same quality certificate, the gap can be massive. Chapter 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Occupation. If you don't have anything specific in mind, just grab a basic, plain Jane job transfer certificate to start. The woman in red went into detail about career changes. There's a lot you just can't learn from books. Some of her stories and experiences really opened Wu Qi's eyes. Finally, he nodded, smiling, thanks, teach. All right. The woman in red hesitated, then said, sit here and meditate on the Kami River visualization. Wu Qi was taken aback. Chapter 17, can't get it right. Career change on my mind. Visualize. Why the sudden request to visualize? A little confused, Wu Qi still sat down cross-legged and started to focus. This time, without any tools, he concentrated on picturing the fairy stepping on the sacred river, managing to slip into a meditative state. Gotta admit, imagining her right in front of you, pretty intense. Hair, face, features, body, clothes, jade belt, even her pretty feet. Little by little, Wu Qi envisioned a powerful, fully formed goddess walking on the river. Meanwhile, the woman in red looked a little strange. She'd just gotten another invitation from the Lord's Heart. Alert. Wu Qi, Lord of Taiyin City, invites you to join Taiyin City. Acceptance means, Yunmengs, becomes property of Taiyin City, and you become the servant of Lord Wu Qi. Not again. Seriously. He thinks I'm some kind of phantom. A shadow crossed her pretty face. This was disrespectful, an insult to the strong and high-level beings. But, remembering Wu Qi was her student, her heart softened, and the anger faded. After thinking it over, the woman in red said, stop. Wu Qi snapped out of it immediately. The woman in red stated calmly, your visualization is off. You're not picturing the divine river at all. Wu Qi was shocked. She saw through him. His heart skipped a beat, but seeing no anger on her face, she probably didn't know what he was picturing. I don't need to see it, I can sense your wandering mind. The woman in red huffed, then said sternly, I'll summon the artifact's phantom. Correct your focus. Remember. Visualize the divine river. Yes, Wu Qi responded quickly. The next moment, with a wave of her hand, the surrounding space twisted. The phantom of the divine river appeared, spinning around Wu Qi. Feeling the artifact's power up close, Wu Qi thought he glimpsed the true, Kami River visualization, in the phantom, but it was fleeting. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't catch it. This was, after all, the power of a divine weapon, not something Wu Qi could easily comprehend. He didn't dwell on it, trying to refocus his visualization, but for some reason, he couldn't visualize the river. The image of the goddess walking on the water, however, came to him instantly. Despite the huge gap, an hour of trying still led to failure. The woman in red frowned, watching the whole thing. Finally, she sighed, dispelled the artifact's power, and said, forget it. Teach. Wu Qi grinned sheepishly. She huffed, go back. Don't mess around. Visualization isn't simple. A slight mistake can be dangerous. Okay. Thank you, Teach Luo, that Wu Qi remembered the woman's name, Luo Yunmeng. He bowed and turned to leave, watching him go. Fairy Luo pondered, then sighed, oh well, just treat it as a weird message and ignore it. Back home, Wu Qi was still a little spooked. Standing before Fairy Yunmeng felt like she could see right through him. She put a lot of pressure on him, not on purpose, just the difference in level. Like falling into the deep ocean, feeling endless dread. But, when I was visualizing her, she didn't seem so scary. She was actually kind of divine. That Wu Qi smirked, deciding to get his revenge in meditation later. He'd be respectful in real life, but visualize her getting a solid punch. Snapping back to reality, he calmed himself and entered his territory. Yuniying Guesthouse. Qin Keqing brought over a plate of food, smiling as she watched Wu Qi devour it. Her beautiful face was full of satisfaction. She'd learned a few home-cooked dishes recently. Nothing fancy, but way better than anything Wu Qi could whip up. Which was true. Wu Qi ate while receiving temporary buffs. Stewed beans and eggplant, blue, excellent quality, temporary constitution +7, temporary spirit +8, attack power +5%. Kelp and rib soup, rare quality, temporary spirit +5. Temporary mental recovery speed +30%. Full and satisfied, Wu Qi leaned back in his chair. Qin Keqing smiled, bringing over a cup of moonlight liquid and saying, Master, rinse your mouth. That Wu Qi sat up, took the cup, and rinsed. Putting the cup down, he reached out, pulling the beauty into his arms. He felt comfortable just holding her warm, fragrant body. Qin Keqing's pretty face turned shy as she said softly, Master, Keqing needs to do the dishes. Forget the dishes. That Wu Qi hugged her tighter and smiled, full belly, warm thoughts. Bang. The door flew open. Sister Lin walked in with Jia Yingchun. Seeing Wu Qi, she couldn't help but giggle, turning to Jia Yingchun and saying, Yingchun, look at this young master, what a creep. Chapter 93. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Jia Yingchun's eyes went wide, her face all shy. She glanced at Wu Qi, then at Qin Keqing, her lips pressed together, not saying a word. Alright, don't be so bashful. That Wu Qi, rolling his eyes, let go of Qin Keqing and asked, I'm gonna buy a job transfer certificate later. Got any ideas? Have you been browsing the job certs in the small universe? Seen them all, Master. Lin Daiyu said softly, teasing, nothing too interesting. With you gone, all we could do was window shop. Oh, really? That Wu Qi waved his hand, used to Lin's playful jabs. Seeing Wu Qi wasn't bothered, Lin Daiyu, a little bored, got serious. I'm thinking of becoming a warrior, but you're gonna cultivate immortality. Yingchun here wants to cultivate the aura of righteousness. All heavens and worlds. There's no high or low path of cultivation. Different worlds and jobs have their pros and cons. Like they say, 3,000 paths, but all lead to the same place. Whether you're a warrior or a cultivator, it's a long road. So, there's no saying one is better than the other. Hearing this, Wu Qi looked at Jia Yingchun surprised. Warriors and immortal cultivators, sure, but the aura of righteousness? That's Confucian scholar stuff, rare as hen's teeth. In some big worlds, they have cultivation systems from hundreds of schools of thought, Confucian scholars among them. They can kill ghosts and gods with a drink. The awe-inspiring aura protects you, evil spirits can't even get near. After a moment, Wu Qi nodded, okay. No problem. Thank you, sir. All three women smiled. Wu Qi pulled the Forum of All Realms from his inventory and headed outside. Pill, Chapter 18 Forum. Traveling Chamber of Commerce. May 5th. Please subscribe. Right now, the territory's huge. 70,000 square meters. Walking out of Yuniying Guesthouse, it felt pretty empty out there. Wu Qi opened the territory interface. After thinking for a sec, he went to the side of the palace, and through the Forum of All Realms. Down, instantly, the small altar grew in the wind, becoming an ancient altar 3 meters wide, a meter high, looked like it would crumble with a strong breeze. Wanjia Forum, plus. You can change this thing. Wu Qi was taken aback, face looking rather strange. The Forum of All Realms was created by ancient gods, to connect all the worlds for humankind. This thing's becoming, what will it become? Interesting. Wu Qi thought for a moment and clicked. In a flash, multicolored light shot out of him, covering the altar. A few seconds later, the light faded, the altar was new again. It was a white jade altar now, covered in divine patterns. Interestingly, in the center, there were murals on the ground. The same mural Wu Qi had seen before, the Xuanhuan clan drilled wood to make fire. Beside the mural were several mysterious words. In the beginning of the ancient times, who preached it? Coincidence? Wu Qi was startled and looked closely, confused. That same painting was in the palace hall. Could there be some connection? After thinking a bit, Wu Qi looked at the new building stats. Zhutian Forum, type, Wanjia Forum, level, none. Not upgradable, function, Wanjia Network, introduction, at the beginning of ancient times, who preached it? Well damn, Zhutian and Wanjia are two different things. Wu Qi frowned. Goldfinger wouldn't trick him. This, All Heavens Forum, must be different from 10,000 Worlds Forum. Maybe Zhutian Forum's even better. Like, more functions. Wu Qi walked up to the altar. Suddenly, mist poured out, covering everything. Wu Qi found himself on a strange stone platform. Several paths led away from it. Each path had a sign. Forum, none. Friends, none. Well, doesn't seem like anything special. Wu Qi sighed, looking around. He didn't see any differences. Kamigawa High School. In the principal's office, Luo Yunmeng was sending notices to students. There are many ways to connect the Forum of All Realms. The simplest way is to add a friend. Since the 10,000 Realms Forum is uniformly distributed by the state, there would naturally be notifications. As for students who live at home, the school would make arrangements. Recently, a legendary genius popped up. No one knows where she's from. Fairy Luo's eyes moved slightly. If only Kamigawa High School had produced a legendary lord, even just one. That would be great. Sadly, in all of Silver Moon City, not a single legendary lord had appeared. Remembering the promise she made to her grandfather, Fairy Luo felt helpless. She added names one by one, then she saw the name Wu Qi. That student could visualize her. Strange. She wasn't an ordinary person. This kid must have gotten something good from the rookie trial. Too bad he's a boy. Fairy Luo shook her head and sent a friend request. Wu Qi was checking things out, suddenly. Chapter 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A notification popped up. Prompt, Luo Yunmeng, wants to add you as a friend. Accept, / decline. Fairy Luo. Wu Qi agreed. Instantly, she appeared as a contact. Then, another notification. Tip, Luo Yunmeng, invites you to join the forum, Kamigawa High School class of 20. Accept, / decline. Accept. Wu Qi decided. The prompt vanished, replaced by a path leading to the unknown. A faint image of Fairy Luo also appeared. He could message her with a thought. Wu Qi wouldn't bother her, so he headed toward the forum. Curiosity piqued. There was only one way to get there. He followed the path to a huge hall. It was already crowded. Besides the people from the lecture hall, there were some entitled second-generation kids. Everyone was waiting. More people materialized from the surrounding mist. Wu Qi looked around when someone called out. Wu Qi. It was the Li siblings. Wu Qi smiled and walked over. Hey, add me as a friend. Li Bo said, sending a request. Wu Qi accepted it. Li Bo's sister, Li Wen, pretended not to hear, seemingly disliking Wu Qi. That he wasn't bothered and started chatting with Li Bo. Suddenly, Fairy Luo floated in, her long hair loose and no makeup. She looked a bit tired, her face showing some fatigue. Here are some domestic forums. You can apply. I've already arranged the identity verifications, so you'll get in directly. She waved, and forum invitations appeared in the hall. National News Forum. National Miscellany Forum. Penguin Comprehensive Forum. Shenong Temple Newbie Forum. Ancient Gods Association Recruitment Forum. Extraordinary game. Holy Land of Shining Light. Xuanhuan Mountain. Tons of forums, independent worlds created by powerful forces. Each forum was an independent world hanging on the Xuanhuan network. Only those with the power to create worlds were worthy of hosting a forum. Wu Qi scanned them and stopped at one in particular. Travel Chamber of Commerce Forum. His goal was to purchase a job transfer certificate, so he needed a trading forum. The Travel Merchant Forum was the most famous. There was also the Penguin Antarctic Trading Forum, the Tengu Trading Forum, etc. But those weren't as established as the Travel Merchant Association. This forum had existed for countless years and had a terrifying history. Legend has it that way back, after the great god created the Xuanhuan network, an expert decided that the trading parties needed to communicate. So, with a thought, he created the legendary profession of traveler. That included traveling mages, traveling wizards, etc. Traveling and trading across all worlds, circulating goods, and building prosperity for humanity. They might not be top fighters, but when it came to trading, they were the best. Wu Qi clicked the invitation, excited. The fog beside him parted, revealing a path. There was also a white jade staircase leading to the unknown. Chapter 19, Hello. I am Uncle Wu Huang. 1/5. Please subscribe. Tip, you have gained access to the Traveling Merchant Association Trading Forum, that the fog cleared, revealing a road. White jade stairs stretched toward uncharted territory. Wu Qi started climbing. With each step, the fog ahead dispersed, revealing different prompts on different paths. Travel Agents Internal Forum, accessible to travelers. Travel Chamber of Commerce Zhoutian Universe Forum, you do not have permission. Only Traveling Merchant Earth Trading Forum was accessible to Wu Qi. He went that way. The fog cleared, and suddenly he was in a sparkling ocean, surrounded by immortal energy. So, this is it. Wu Qi looked around. Water began to rise, forming a huge panel. It displayed forum posts. The scope was the entire Earth, and every post was there. Each post was a transaction, auction. Super strong level 43 behemoth orc, moving mountains and calming the sea is no problem. Buying world wonders, negotiable prices, satisfaction guaranteed. Penguin Chamber of Commerce, urgent. Looking for a mage skill book Sky Fury. Selling. Military talisman, buying golden weapons, any level. Top prices. Buying high quality spiritual rice, per ton. The posts had varying degrees of popularity. Wu Qi understood that this was a platform for traders divided into thousands. He could enter each post's specific location from this platform. Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For instance, auctions, or private trading platforms, even some public marketplaces. Super convenient. They've really created a small world. Wu Qi had a sudden realization. He paused to consider things, then decided to start by searching for the job change certificates he needed, specifically, warriors, immortal cultivators, and Confucian/Taoist scholars. Of course, finding high-quality ones is the real goal. He turned on the filter function, entered his keywords, and clicked OK. Asterisk whoosh, star, thousands of posts instantly appeared. Scanning through them, he noticed that most were for warrior job change certificates, a smaller number were for immortal cultivators, and a mere 7 posts advertised Confucian/Taoist scholar certificates. Looking at the warrior posts, 0.30% were trash-tier certificates like martial arts instructor, bandit warrior, or rebel martial master. 0.6% were run-of-the-mill certificates such as boxing master or charge general. Only 10% were rare or better. Seeing a fairly even mix of green and white quality certificates, Wu Qi skipped those and focused solely on the blue and purple ones. There were 13 posts in total, 7 were blue, and 6 were purple. Wu Qi checked out the 6 purple ones first but quickly frowned. The posters were either spouting nonsense or making ridiculous demands, like requiring you to join some specific faction. They were all talk and no action. Among the 7 blue posts, 3 were the same, leaving only 4 that seemed like genuine offers. The job titles were Sky Warrior, Dharma Protector Monk, Xuanhuan Palace Disciple, and Shirtless Green Clam. Since he was buying for Lin Daiyu, Dharma Protector Monk and Shirtless Green Clam were automatically out, that left him with Sky Warrior and Xuanhuan Palace Disciple. Wu Qi considered his options. First, he opened the Sky Warrior post. This is from a fellow traveler who ended up in a world where Eastern and Western cultures clashed. He messed up during a battle between gods and immortals and got his hands on a legendary warrior job change certificate. The Sky Warrior wields the power of the sky and can fly right from the start, plus, every move is enhanced by the power of the heavens, making him a formidable fighter at any range. In that world, a Sky Warrior could stride across the sky and shatter seas of clouds with a single palm, devastating everything for hundreds of miles. A legendary warrior's job change certificate, and its only blue quality. Wu Qi's face fell, the post was clearly overhyped. A closer look revealed that it was just a first-tier job change certificate. Devastating everything for hundreds of miles, that he checked out the trade requirements, 250,000 void crystals, or a trade. Wu Qi hesitated, then decided to contact the poster. How does the trade option work? Almost immediately, the post lit up, and a shadowy figure shrouded in mist materialized before Wu Qi. This was a standard security measure used by the traveling merchant world to protect traders. Everyone was concealed by the mist of the rules, preventing even deities from seeing through their disguise. Hey there. I'm Longley Jelong. The mysterious man smiled and cut straight to the chase. I'm not gonna BS you. I'll trade it for anything blue quality. Or, if you've got a weapon, building, or World Wonder token, I'll take even the crappiest quality. World Wonders. Wu Qi's face twitched, ignoring the second half of the sentence. He paused, then accessed his territory and pulled out a weapon token from the small universe realm. Tidecaller Murloc, green quality. He offered it. The mysterious man examined it and frowned slightly, then, he shook his head and said, sorry, but if we're trading that, I'll need you to add another 35,000 void crystals on top. Shortly after, the two parted ways, both annoyed. The mysterious man, Longley Jelong, was a bit of a greedy jerk, constantly upping his price, and since he refused to budge, Wu Qi didn't waste any more time with him and contacted the second poster. Quickly, another mysterious person appeared. This one seemed to be a woman. Her voice was a little cold. 200,000 void crystals, or a job change certificate of equal quality, or any low-quality rare item. Wu Qi also cut to the chase and showed her a few items he was thinking of selling, such as the Tidecaller Fishman Soldier token, and the Roger Archer weapon token. After looking them over, the mysterious woman decided she wanted the Roger Archer token, agreed to the trade, and vanished without a word. Damn, that was efficient. Wu Qi watched her disappear, speechless. That guy. No girl is so decisive. He glanced curiously at her trading name, Millennium Ice. She was definitely a weirdo. Wu Qi paused, then looked at his own trading name. It could be changed at any time. It was just a fake name, anyway. Wu Qi thought for a moment and changed his to Uncle Wu Huang. Next, he began to search for job change certificates for immortal cultivators and Confucian/Taoist scholars. There were fewer immortal cultivators than warriors, but it still took a while. Wu Qi used several pieces of blue quality equipment and 2,000 void crystals to snag a blue quality job change certificate. As for the Confucian/Taoist scholars, there wasn't much to choose from, all white and run-of-the-mill. Wu Qi quickly scanned the options and traded some green equipment for one of them. Then, he disabled the filter and clicked on a post from a chamber of commerce looking to buy stuff. Start, Chapter 20, News. Golden Arms. February 5th. Please subscribe. Chambers of commerce are different from individual buyers. They usually buy at slightly lower prices, but on the upside, they take almost anything and you're pretty much guaranteed to make a sale. Buying from them is the same, the prices are gonna be higher. Also, the universe is endless, and sometimes you can find things from individuals that you just can't get at a chamber of commerce. So, Wu Qi preferred to buy job change certificates from other players, but he sold his own stuff to chambers of commerce. As the largest chamber of commerce in the human race, the traveling chamber of commerce was pretty generous. Any other chamber of commerce could trade, buy, and sell stuff in their forum. It might sound crazy, but that's just how big the Power difference was, as the inherited chamber of commerce of the ancient gods, their traveler inheritance alone was enough to crush the competition. No one could catch up, therefore, Wu Qi found several different chambers of commerce and sold some of the stuff he didn't need, equipment, military tokens, job change certificates, etc. And he made a ton of void crystals. By the time he returned to the class forum from the trading forum, he had over 1.2 million void crystals in his pocket. This rookie trial is something else. Back in the hall. Wu Qi couldn't help but sigh, and keep in mind, that he'd only sold the stuff he didn't need. He hadn't sold anything like the 9 absolute swords, territory buildings, or golden equipment. Even so, selling a few low-quality items had earned him over $1 million. In just 30 days, he'd gone from being dirt poor to a little bit rich. In the hall, there were still about 20 people left, coincidentally. Chapter 96. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Edited content. Li Bo and his sister had just left the trading forum when they spotted Wu Qi. Li Bo grinned, surprised. Hey, you're doing some shopping too? Yep. Wu Qi nodded. Li Bo got all excited. I made a killing selling elf bread, over 3,000 void crystals. If I can figure out how to scale up the planting, I could rake in tens of thousands a month. Too bad, farming, plots are crazy expensive, and then there's the elf bread tree seeds. He sighed, the void crystals I just made won't even buy an acre. Guess I'm just getting more seeds. He chattered on for a bit, then smiled. Hey, if you ever need elf bread, let me know. I can hook you up with a discount, 20% off. Consider it a brotherly deal. Thanks, I'll keep that in mind, Wu Qi said, smiling. Actually, he had 20 spiritual fields, back home, all planted with spiritual rice. No need for elf bread at all. In all the heavens and realms, there were tons of magical food seeds. Eat the right ones, and you could even boost your bloodline and strength. That's why farming lords weren't exactly rare. In fact, there were probably more of them than warlords. After all, not everyone was brave enough to explore the void and conquer realms. Just then, Li Wen chimed in, bummed out. Man, someone was selling military units, golden military units. Golden units? Wu Qi was taken aback, but Li Bo waved it off. Come on, it's probably a scam. If it was a legit golden soldier, you think he'd be selling it on the forum? It would have been auctioned off in a heartbeat. There'd be offers flying in from every direction. Hearing this, Wu Qi frowned and asked what was up. Apparently, the Li Bo siblings were at a public forum, buying and selling stuff for farming lords, when they stumbled upon someone hawking golden military talismans. It drew a crowd, but after everyone got a good look at the golden military talisman, they all walked away, shaking their heads. This golden military talisman, it was a real head-scratcher. So what if you have the military talisman? You still need the golden legendary barracks template. Who's got that kind of cash? Li Wen scoffed. Li Bo shook his head. Even so, selling golden military talismans shouldn't be a problem, but this one was straight up garbage. It's a money pit. Could even screw you over. The troops actually damaged the territory. No wonder nobody wants it, Li Bo muttered. Wu Qi started to get the picture. The golden military talisman was called, Spirit of Lu and Shu, a military type with the bloodline of the legendary mythical beast, Lu and Shu. Now, selling in the Farming Lord Forum, this unit was meant as an auxiliary unit. The spirits of Lu and Shu came in male and female versions. The female spirit could boost the quality of crops, which was awesome. But the male spirit, summon him, and suddenly you'd have a dry wasteland in your territory that you couldn't fix. That was the Lushu bloodline, for you, joy from the auspicious aura of the female, nurturing nature, anger from the male, bringing eternal drought. So, everyone went from moo to meh real quick. Too many drawbacks. Only big shots who don't care about the losses would buy that, the two muttered, shaking their heads. Wu Qi listened, intrigued. This unit? He was definitely getting it. I remembered I needed to grab some stuff, so I'll catch you later, Wu Qi said, heading for the trading forum. The siblings didn't give it a second thought and went back to chatting. Shenong Hui, the seventh trading forum on Earth, Wu Qi picked the same forum the siblings had just left. When the fog cleared and the path appeared, he stepped onto it, a few steps, and he was in a huge square. Packed with people. Wu Qi wandered around and finally found the merchant surrounded by a crowd. He was arguing with a buyer about the golden military talisman. I'm telling you for the last time. Your military talisman is too flawed. My family is offering $500,000. It's a steal. Don't be so ungrateful. You're a lowballer. If it wasn't for the barracks template, you wouldn't offer $9 million. Ha! $9 million for a piece of junk? Get real. Junk or not, it's still a golden soldier. If it was any better, I wouldn't sell it for $100 million, they bickered like crazy. But the fog of rules kept things private. Finally, the family rep walked away. The crowd, having seen enough, sighed and chuckled. The merchant was furious. If you're not buying, get lost. Go find some other pimple to stare at. Haha, he's losing it. You want to recruit golden troops? First, you need barracks. Golden barracks templates and golden military talismans. What a mess. Someone as unlucky as me wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole. There were plenty of strong folks around, but no one dared to step in. It wasn't about the price, it was the negative buff from the male deer spirit. It was a curse. Get a few more, and your territory would be toast. That was just how military units were. Undead units, like zombies, skeletons, liches, etc. Recruit them, and your territory turns creepy. Plus, the fields get tainted with the undead stench, and your crops rot. The merchant was stewing when Wu Qi stepped up. I want your military talisman. Chapter 2 The Forest of Lu and Shu. Dear Spirit Girl. 3/5. Please subscribe. Huh. The merchant perked up. Great. Let's trade. The crowd went silent. No way, someone's actually buying it. He must be a big shot who's willing to pay anything. Someone bought it, but $9 million is way too much. Depends on who you ask. $9 million for a golden soldier? That's practically a bargain. People whispered, but Wu Qi stayed quiet. Seeing this, the merchant thought Wu Qi was getting cold feet. Friend, my price is fair. Golden troops. $9 million, I'm losing money here. If I wasn't hard up for cash, I wouldn't let it go this cheap. Wait a few days, and people will be offering tens of millions. The crowd snickered. Wu Qi stayed calm. I'll trade you some equipment. What? The merchant was taken aback. Wu Qi pulled out several pieces of purple equipment that Lin Daiyu and the others had outgrown. Tensile gloves, victory armor, and other unused gear. Chapter 97. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Because of the special newbie trials, almost every one of the first 20 bosses dropped some gold gear. Only the final boss gave a skill book, so, most of Lin Daiyu's equipment is legendary gold, with a few slots filled with purple gear. Qin Kaching's in the same boat. Jia Yingchun wasn't wearing any equipment, no point in it. Really, Wu Qi had planned to save the purple quality stuff for the next hero, but now, he's gotta move it. The merchant looked over the stuff and his eyes widened. All of Wu Qi's pieces were level 10 to 15 gear. Low level, sure, but top-tier purple equipment is worth a good bit. He furrowed his brow, thought for a second, and said, Listen, pal, I'm not a pro equipment dealer. I can take a few of these pieces, but that's it. He picked out a few things he'd be willing to buy, then said, I can give you market price for these, so that's about 1.4 million. Purple equipment isn't cheap, but level 10. $1 million or a couple $100,000 is pushing it. The only reason he's even considering it is the great stats on Wu Qi's gear. Still, compared to 9 million, 1.4 million's a lowball. Wu Qi frowned, thought for a moment, and said, I'll go up to 1.9 million. No way, man, it's still only 2.4 million total. That's a huge gap to make up to 9 million, that the merchant griped. Wu Qi glanced at him, then turned to leave. People nearby chuckled, seeing the deal fall through. Seeing this, the merchant gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll go to 2.4 million, and that's it." That Wu Qi stopped and said calmly, 2.2 million. Merchant, deal. Logging out of the multiverse forum, that Wu Qi took a long, relieved breath. He acted cool during the negotiation, but he was stressed out. Even if the Golden Army is trash, they're still the Golden Army. Few people know about them, and even fewer are smart enough to realize what they could be, but if word gets out, someone's gonna try to buy them. This would be a huge loss. Luckily, he snagged them in time. Li Bo 1. Wu Qi grinned. Down by the altar, the three girls were looking at Wu Qi with relaxed expressions, their pretty faces full of curiosity. Lin giggled sweetly and said softly, "Master, what's got you so cheerful? You look so happy." "Mind your own business." Wu Qi rolled his eyes and took out 3 job change certificates. He handed them out. "Take these and change jobs. Then show me the results when you're done." "Okay." The 3 women grinned, took the certificates, and headed toward the palace, whispering to each other. Wu Qi pulled the barracks out of the small universe realm, and tossed it out. Alert, the Lu and Shu spirit, weapon talisman is detected. Please select. Directed transformation. Choose, Lu and Shu spirit. Wu Qi made his choice. The next moment, 5-colored light burst out and enveloped the architectural model in his hand. The model flew into the air, growing larger, until it became a sacred building wreathed in clouds and mist, landing in front of Wu Qi. Covering an area of several hundred square meters, it looked like a temple. Strange, ancient trees grew inside, and there were a few totems. Each totem was engraved with the likeness of the mythical beast, Lu Shu. Lu and Shu Grove, type, barracks, level, 1, 0/500, recruitable, Lu and Shu spirit, 2000, currently have, none. Introduction. Will the troops who inherit the blood of mythical beasts bring you good luck, or disaster? I have 20 pieces of spiritual land. Wu Qi rubbed his hands and upgraded the Lu and Shu Grove to level 2, then recruited 20 Lu and Shu spirits. The next moment, the breeze rustled through the Lu and Shu Grove, making the branches sway wildly. In the center, the temple doors swung open with a bang, and several figures emerged, looking at Wu Qi with innocent expressions. "Master," a clear voice rang out, and the figures walked out and stood quietly in front of Wu Qi. They weren't tall, maybe about 5'4", wearing simple leaf clothes. Their fair skin was like smooth jade, radiating a soft glow. 2 white antlers sprouted from their short hair. Beneath the hair, loli-esque faces were pure and cute, with a divine, ethereal quality. Though short, their figures were well developed, even more so than the girls from Moonrise Palace, more than a few of the immortal Qin warriors. They were all so graceful and beautiful that even the leaves couldn't hide it. It was terrifying. These girls were naturally stunning, thanks to the regional trait. The Lu and Shu Grove could only recruit female troops. And every single one of them was beautiful. Wu Qi looked left and right, amazed. He'd expected some kind of deer-like creature, but these were humanoid soldiers. Monster? Spirit? Spiritkin? He focused on one of the Lu spirit girls and opened her attribute panel. P.S. Please subscribe. Chapter 22, All Things Resonate. All things are natural. April 5th. Please subscribe. Lu Shu Spirit, Twin Antlers, Race, Spirit Kin, Quality, Legendary Gold, Talent, All Things are Natural +1. Bloodline, Mountains and Seas Lu Shu +1. Level, 1+2, 0/100, Constitution, 110 +100, Base Attribute 11, Multiplier 1000%, Spirit, 320 +100, Base Attribute 32, Multiplier 1000%. Skills, All Things Resonate, Level 5, Natural Body, Level 5, Ancient Prayer, Level 5, Lu Shu Holy Sound, Level 5, Introduction, a spiritkin born from the bloodline of the ancient mythical beast, representing the joy and gifts of the beast. All things are natural +1. Talent quality, legendary gold, attribute 1. In nature, the Lu Shu spirit can enter the all things are natural state, damage -100%, physical damage reduction +60%, energy damage reduction +60%, attribute 2, gain the skills all things resonate and natural body. Introduction, where Lu Shu goes, all things resonate harmoniously. Mountains and seas Lu Shu +1. Bloodline quality, legendary gold. Chapter 98. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Skills, gained Lu Shu inheritance skills and the Xuanhuan Jing system, unlocked, ancient prayer, holy sound of Lu and Shu, description, according to the classic of mountains and seas, when the deer and Shu sing, the world becomes clear. Everything resonates. Skill quality, golden legend, level, 5, 1+4, attributes, bonds 2A, farming, type building. Upon harvest, crop level +1, yield +50%, with a 5% chance of producing unique seeds, description, the spirit of Lu and Shu is one with nature. Natural body. Skill quality, golden legend, level, 5, 1+4, attribute 1, physical +5, mental +10, attribute 2, triggers nature's fury when attacked. Description, live in harmony with nature, and nature protects you. Ancient prayer. Skill quality, golden legend, level, 5, 1+4, attributes, use on allies to increase physical defense by 50% and energy resistance by +50%, duration, 500 seconds, description, nature, protect us. Sacred sound of Lu and Shu. Skill quality, golden legend, level, 5, 1+4, attributes, grants purify, dispel, and holy blessing effects to friendly targets, description, begone, demons. Your name's Urji. Wu Qi looked kindly at the girl in front of him, dressed in leaves, her big eyes were innocent and cute as she replied sweetly, yes, master. So, what was your world like originally? Wu Qi smiled, trying to put the girls at ease. His approach calmed their nerves, and they began to share their stories, their voices like wind chimes, and their soft words were enchanting. Wu Qi learned they came from a mythical world teeming with mythical beasts. The world was vast, continents stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. They told tales of falling stars that merely punched holes in the landscape, and terrifying beasts that hunted stars and devoured moons. There were even ancient races of snakes and celestial beings, a world of untamed wilderness. They were all members of a large family. The Eldar, like in many worlds, the Eldar were spiritual beings made flesh, transformed from deer spirits with Lu Shu blood, living in an endless primeval forest. Being suddenly summoned to this new world left them confused and nervous. Thankfully, Wu Qi was skilled at putting people at ease. A simple conversation and his unique status as Lord allowed him to connect with the girls and calm them down. However, they looked rather unkempt in their leaf attire. Wu Qi paused, then with a wave of his hand, a beam of light shot out from his small universe realm, and landed before them. As the light faded, it revealed 20 new outfits. These were all drawn from Red Mansion. He had to admit, there were so many women's outfits. During the newbie trial, Wu Qi had used any void crystals he got to try his luck. And the result? What are these? The girls were bewildered. Their innocent faces and ragged leaf clothes were a strange mix of angel and imp, pure yet alluring. Wu Qi, feeling a little helpless, showed them how to dress. One by one, he helped them change, transforming their appearance. Their short hair was pulled back into an upturned bun, with strands framing their faces, like little Taoist nuns from a movie. Each girl wore a different outfit, some simple and pure, others vibrant and colorful. Wu Qi's eyes widened at the array of looks. Next, he gave them a quick rundown of common knowledge. They'd received a lot of information during the summoning, so it wasn't too much of a hassle. They were also quick learners, grasping the key aspects of life in the territory. Soon after, Wu Qi led the Deer Spirit Girls to the Spirit Field, assigning 20 to each. The Deer Spirit Girls happily entered the Spirit Field, unafraid when being around plants. The moment they stepped inside, their aura and demeanor shifted, as if they had become one with the land. At the same time, the spiritual rice plants glowed faintly. It must have been their skills at work. Once they were settled, Wu Qi led them to the palace to arrange their rooms. Due to limited space, He had previously assigned soldiers to share rooms, adding 20 new troops wasn't too far off the original plans. However, the habits of these creatures from the ancient world differed greatly from those of modern people. For example, the deer spirit girls mainly subsisted on natural energy and plants, never eating cooked food or taking baths. As beings born of nature, their bodies were inherently pure. They didn't need to bathe, sleeping arrangements, furniture, everything needed to be explained. With everything settled, Wu Qi sighed in relief. He walked into the mysterious restaurant, poured himself a glass of Xianbing jade fire wine, and relaxed in a chair. Dusk had fallen and night was approaching. Suddenly, 3 beautiful figures approached, smiles on their faces, each radiating a unique aura. Wu Qi turned and smiled. "You successfully changed classes?" "Yes, Master." Chapter 99. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Ah. Yeah, that the women chimed in. Lin Daiyu walked over, grabbed the cup from him, poured a drink, and took a sip. "This is good stuff. Doesn't knock you on your butt." She rolled her eyes, swirling the glass around, amused. "This isn't your average hooch." Wu Qi's face winced. Lin Daiyu followed up, "So, these new gals on the land, are they all tough fighters?" "Support troops," Wu Qi answered instantly, describing what the deer spirit girls could do. "They're mostly gonna work the fields. Having them around means we're gonna be pulling in some serious bounty. Plus, they give you buffs when you're fighting. PS subscribe, or the deer spirit girls will shank you with their antlers." Chapter 23, The Secret of Frequent Encounters. Nice. May 5th. Please subscribe. As a gold tier unit, the deer spirit is perfect as long as you focus on the joy, not the wrath. Their main gig is boosting crop quality, plus, they can support combat troops, giving them crazy defense buffs. And, get this, they've got purification skills. If you're up against enemies with curses, purification is a game changer. Back during the newbie trials, there was this boss with a curse that could one-shot a dozen great Qin warriors. It was always hiding in the fog. Qin Keqing had to bust out her Fengyue Baojian just so Lin Daiyu could hack it to pieces. So, yeah, purification skills are clutch. And for our side, the deer spirits can use nature's embrace to sacrifice their own attack and get massive damage reduction. Combined with their beefed-up defense skills, they can really take a beating. As for taking down enemies, when they get attacked, it triggers nature's wrath. The details are vague. Wu Qi didn't know just how angry nature would get, but, think about it, natural disasters are always worse than man-made ones. When nature's pissed, it's gonna be bad news. For comparison, the Qin warriors and Mingyue Palace disciples are gold-tier units, but they're different. The Qin warriors are all about fighting. They can wreck enemies in formations, and even take on heroes. The Mingyue Palace cultivators are more well-rounded. They can fight, support, and control. Still, they're gold-tier units that got leveled up later on. Something feels off, but Wu Qi can't quite put his finger on it. "Oh, I get it. These new gals are just like the second sister," Lin Daiyu teased, a smile on her face as she glanced at Jia Yingchun. Jia Yingchun's face turned red and she snapped back, embarrassed. "You little troublemaker, I'm gonna get you." Then, she peeked at Wu Qi, nervous that he'd be mad. Wu Qi just smiled and waved it off. The beauty sighed in relief and shot a quick glare at Lin Daiyu. Qin Keqing, watching the two, walked over to Wu Qi. "Sir, I've got new skills since my job change." Her job transfer certificate was a blue. The true story of Wangyu Palace. Right off the bat, Wangyu Palace sounded way bigger than Mingyue Palace, but it's the best he has, so it'll have to do. Wu Qi pulled up her stats. Qin Keqing. Snippet. Level. 10, 143/5000. Occupation. Wangyu Palace True Disciple. Physique. 1320 plus 250. Base 110. Skill 20. Multiplier 1000%. Equipment 140. Bond 20. Land 110. Spirit. 1320 plus 650. Base 110. Skill 20. Multiplier 1000%. Equipment 540. Bond 20. Land 110. Kung Fu. The True Art of Forgetting Worry. 1/9. Skills. 3 Lights Fire. Level 5. 3 lights shield, level 5, snippet. 1 more exercise and 2 more skills, huh? Wu Qi nodded. Qin Keqing smiled. Sir, when the skill level goes up, you get more skills. But leveling them up costs resources. I'd rather wait for my daily enlightenment. That she learned the secret of frequent encounters from Wu Qi and didn't want him to waste his void source stones. She'd rather use the marriage tree for enlightenment and upgrades. Yep. After last night, the marriage tree now had the Wu Qi/Qin Keqing couple. That's the spirit. That Wu Qi gave a thumbs up. Frequent encounters are the best, right? Anyway, it's gonna be a while before he gets back, so he wants to go from level 1 to max level. Ain't nothing stopping him. Then, he looked at Lin Daiyu and Jia Yingchen. Lin Daiyu got a Shen Shui Jing skill, also level 1 to 9, with a few added bonuses and 2 extra skills. Jia Yingchen only got 1 skill, and it's nothing special. It's called the Art of Righteousness and doesn't come with any skills. With the job transfers handled, that Wu Qi was free. He had dinner with the girls. Chatted a while. And went to the Zhu Tian forum to check out the posts. Late night, midnight. Wu Qi went back to the altar, looked up at the sky, and checked his watch. He couldn't help but slap his forehead. Just like back in my old life, I can't quit scrolling the forums. It's already midnight. He was speechless, stretched, and headed towards Mingjing Lake. Forums are addictive, especially the forums in this life. There are so many. And the content is interesting. Time just flies by when he's reading them. Some people are so hungry they're attacking the pig men. That's savage. Wu Qi was blown away. It was late. Mingjing Lake was quiet and empty. He took a quick shower and went back to his room to crash. The room was dark. He was too lazy to flip on the lights. With his hero senses, he walked to the couch without bumping into anything. Hopped into bed, and got ready to sleep, but, just after getting under the covers. As Wu Qi settled in, his elbow hit something soft. A pillow. Wu Qi was startled. Then, a whimper came from beside him. Chapter 100. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Edited content. Wu Qi turned his head in the dim light to see a beautiful woman kneeling in bed, rubbing his shoulders. Her gorgeous face was creased with a slight frown, as if she were in some pain. Her hair was disheveled, and her cheeks flushed, adding to her allure. Her eyes held a hint of timidity. Wu Qi immediately recognized that timid weakness. Yingchen. What are you doing? He was caught off guard. Jia Yingchen bit her lip, hesitated, and finally whispered, Master, Daiyu said. She trailed off, embarrassed to continue. After a moment, she found her courage and murmured, even though it was Daiyu's idea, I don't mind. My whole life belongs to you, young master. With that, her face turned crimson, and she ducked under the covers. Wu Qi was speechless for a moment, then smiled, lifted the quilt, and the night deepened with passion. P.S. Please subscribe. Chapter 24, Morning Visitors. High Priest. 1/5. Please subscribe. The next day, Wu Qi woke up refreshed and feeling fantastic. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting tiny patches of light on the floor. He stretched, taking in the morning sun, a look of lingering satisfaction on his face. The 3 women each had a gentle nature, but they were distinct. Sister Lin was headstrong and liked to take charge. Qin Keqing was kind and very agreeable. Jia Yingchen, on the other hand, just accepted everything. She never resisted, and it seemed nothing could change her, but Wu Qi rather liked it. He glanced over and saw Jia Yingchen seemingly awake but burrowed deep in the bed, rolled up like a burrito. Wu Qi chuckled, patted the burrito, and said, Get up. Time for breakfast. MMPH. Came a muffled sound from within the covers, then, a beautiful face peeked out, mouth slightly ajar. I'm not going. You go on ahead. Alright, you get some rest. Wu Qi didn't press her. He got dressed and left the bedroom. Right next door, another room was open. 2 Xian Qin Rui warriors in ornate uniforms emerged, chatting as they adjusted their hair. Spotting Wu Qi, they quickly bowed. Your Majesty. Your Majesty. Wu Qi nodded and greeted them. Good morning. Let's go grab some food. Yes. The two women finished fixing their hair and stood guard around Wu Qi, looking solemn, like they were heading into battle. Wu Qi couldn't help but smile. What's with the formality? Relax. Understood. The two women realized their mistake. A touch of embarrassment flickered across their otherwise composed faces, and they loosened up, instantly transforming back into striking and statuesque figures. The three of them headed to Union Guesthouse. At level 10, Union Guesthouse's dining hall was vast and elegantly decorated. The tables, chairs, and ornaments were all exquisite. The atmosphere of mountains and rivers, coupled with the subtle fragrance of incense, created a relaxing ambience. Wu Qi took the initiative to steam a basket of buns and pour several glasses of milk, serving them to the women. Your Majesty, you shouldn't have. The two women were flustered, jumping up to take the dishes. Wu Qi waved his hand and smiled. It's nothing. Just taste my cooking. Techniques 4 steaming buns. The two women were a little puzzled, but they sat down and started eating anyway. Moment later, both women frowned slightly but dutifully finished the buns. Then, they downed their milk in one gulp. Not good? Wu Qi asked, standing nearby. Delicious. Delicious. The two tall beauties answered quickly, their expressions not betraying any insincerity. Wu Qi knew better. Judging from their faces, the buns weren't terrible, just nothing special. They were used to the gourmet food at Union Guesthouse and probably weren't fond of his simple fare. Undeterred, he sat down and ate 4 buns himself. They tasted pretty good. He washed them down with milk and sighed contentedly. Just then, he noticed some commotion nearby. A group of newly arrived deer spirit girls were eating their first human meal. They were timid and took small bites, their wide eyes darting around. They looked ready to bolt at the slightest sound, just like wary deer in the forest. Your Majesty, these new warriors don't look like they can fight. One of the immortal Qin Rui warriors spoke, her voice low. I spoke with them, and it seems their only means of defense are passive. Yeah. Wu Qi nodded, briefly explaining the deer girl's situation. In a battle, they can provide buffs, but they're unlikely to take the initiative. I understand. The immortal Qin Rui warrior nodded slightly, then, as if struck by an idea, her stern face suddenly broke into a bright smile. Your Majesty, I heard you changed Zhao Hei's name to Zhao Xuanhuan. I did. Wu Qi confirmed, her eyes widened. Please forgive my boldness, Your Majesty, but could you change my name too? Oh. Lining up for a name change, are we? What was your original name? Wu Qi asked. The beauty blushed and whispered, I don't have a surname. Before I joined the army, my family just called me Yaya. When I enlisted, I simply added the Qin surname, Qin Yaya. Were your parents just too lazy? Wu Qi's face twitched. Qin Yaya smiled helplessly. They didn't want me to join the army. They thought I should be a spiritual farmer, contributing to the Xian Qin logistics. But with Her Majesty the First Emperor and all those other amazing women before us, how could I stay behind? Her eyes shone with determination as she spoke of the female Qin Xuanhuan of their world. Wu Qi's face was a little peculiar. In that Qin dynasty, Qin Xuanhuan was a woman, and she had united the world, conquered the universe, and created the Xian Qin civilization. In the future,